Imagine walking through a market, and instead of seeing fruits or vegetables, you find a market full of single women desperately looking for a partner. This is the reality for millions of people across China right now. These women are referred to as leftover women. But why are they called this in China? The term leftover women typically applies to single women over the age of 27 who are not married. However, as you can imagine, this is a derogatory term used for both single men and women in China. If you are a single woman and over 30 years old, you are called Sheng Nu, which means leftover women in Mandarin. But if you are a single man and over 30 years old, you are called Guanggun, a popular term used to describe single individuals in Chinese culture. It is also translated less literally as leftover men, just like the women. But why is being single at 30 a problem in China? And why do some people resort to extreme measures to find a partner? Well, to find out, we need to understand the social pressures and the reality of life in China. In 1979, the one-child policy was implemented in China to control population growth, although it was abolished in 2016 and replaced by the two-child policy, which has now been updated to the current three-child policy. The problem is that the echoes of that original policy persist, with about 104.7 men for every 100 women, and the imbalance prevails. And currently, according to official sources, for every 100 women, 118 men are born. Sons are seen as carriers of the family name, heirs to wealth, and crucially, are expected to take care of their parents in old age. This entrenched thinking, coming from centuries of tradition, persists even in contemporary times. But wait, if there are more men than women, what's the problem? Well, it's not just about numbers. There is a social preference for younger brides, generally in their 20s, and single women in their 30s already begin to face difficulties finding partners. And this is no secret. Chinese men openly express a preference for younger women. Some prefer to stay single rather than date an older woman. For some Chinese, dating a woman over 30 is almost unthinkable. The impact of globalization and exposure to Western media has also contributed to the valuation of youth and beauty in Chinese society. Western beauty standards, promoted through advertising and media, have influenced perceptions of attractiveness, leading to increased pressure on women to meet these ideals, which may contribute to the preference for younger partners. Another important fact is the cultural preference for male children. Many families opted for gender selection, and in some cases, even resorted to selective abortion to ensure that the only child was a male. This gender bias resulted in a disparity in the male-to-female ratio, creating a surplus of men compared to women. As a result, single women face intensified competition among men in the search for partners. But what is the real reality of the leftover women? It's no secret that society in China is completely different from that of the West. While the technological dispute between China and America continues, there is a big difference in what the public is exposed to. For example, Chinese TikTok has a separate version, known for promoting scientific, educational, and historical content, while the US version focuses more on dance videos and questionable content. Therefore, it's no surprise that millions of women are opting for higher education or focusing on their careers. And what are the outcomes of this? Well, many people are getting married much later, or even choosing not to marry at all. This shift challenges the traditional norms, where women were expected to prioritize marriage and family. But this shift in priorities is not just in the mindset, but also in location. It has been reported that Chinese men in rural areas are increasingly struggling to attract a wife. This is due to the massive migration from rural to urban areas by women, in search of better economic opportunities. Many of these professional women don't mind being single, but traditions and family roots remain strong, leading some parents to take the reins and attend marriage markets to promote their single daughters. But the question is, how do marriage markets work in China? On any given weekend, you can find hundreds of anxious parents holding matrimonial resumes of their children. These resumes not only contain usual information such as age, height, and income, but also details like whether the person owns a house or a car. If you are single and own your own house or car, my friend, you are a prime suitor. The marriage market in China has become increasingly competitive and focused on youth and beauty. Sheng Nu. Women may feel the need to meet culturally influenced beauty standards. and some even resort to cosmetic interventions to enhance their appeal in the marriage market. Now, this might seem a bit strange, but what adds an extra touch is that many of the daughters advertised are unaware that their details are displayed in the park or market for all to see, and this is not limited to daughters. Many sons are also advertised by their parents. Imagine for a moment that you are happy and single, and suddenly your parents start looking for a loving partner for you in the markets. What would you think of that? However, these markets are deeply rooted in tradition and highlight the intense social pressure to marry. But how far are parents willing to go to ensure their children don't fall behind? The dating industry in China is complex. Many people have no idea how big the market in China is. It's a massive market with a lot of money at stake. In fact, many well-known corporations go all out to get a share of that market. For example, Huawei, a Chinese company, is known for sharing its customers' data with the Chinese government. Interestingly, the marriage and dating industry in China is thriving, with an estimated revenue of over $300 million annually. This has led some sociologists to believe that the label leftover women might have been created by the dating and marriage industry to maximize profits, playing on the fears of parents and single women. It's hard to predict the future, but according to an article from The Conversation, there are 7 million single women between 25 and 34 years old in urban areas of China, and they are among the biggest contributors to the country's growth. Women now contribute about 41% of China's GDP, the highest proportion of any country. Another article suggests that the trend of leftover women in China will persist for many years, and it will be an industry that will grow even further over the years. In summary, the phenomenon of single women in China has been considered a social problem for various reasons rooted in culture, past governmental policies, and social expectations. This challenge has arisen as a result of a combination of factors, each contributing to the complexity of the situation. Female singleness has a significant demographic impact. The declining marriage and birth rates among single women contribute to long-term demographic problems, such as population aging and a shrinking workforce. These demographic issues can have significant consequences in terms of economic sustainability and the country's ability to meet the needs of an aging population. Women's rights activists in China continue to fight for justice and equality. Efforts are being made to change cultural perceptions about marriage and singleness, promote gender equality, and allow greater autonomy for women in their life decisions. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, leave your like and your comment. See you in the next video.